it's producer Mark at KCMO Talk Radio, and if you're an NFL or college football fan, check out my weekly sports betting podcasts. Search College Pick'em Program or Sunday Sharps wherever you get your podcasts, and hit that subscribe button for my weekly picks, including the Chiefs, Mizzou, Kansas, and K-State. Now here's the Monday in the Morning podcast.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
the office of President of the United States
and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. So help me God. Congratulations, Mr. President.
Well, that was just after 11 o'clock in the morning Central Time, and Ray's Cafe was rocking yesterday. Woo! Man, good morning. It is good to be here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Donald Trump is now the 47th president of the United States. And we had a great turnout, 200, 250 of you showing up at Ray's Cafe yesterday in Independence for this watch party. And I'm standing at the corner of the bar at Ray's Cafe, and I'm watching this speech with 250 of my closest friends. And I couldn't help but think about what a stark contrast this speech was to Donald Trump's inaugural speech of 2017, which was dark. It was about American carnage. Yesterday, watching Trump, a guy who had been through hell and back, nearly getting killed, having a corrupt DOJ after him for the better part of 4 years, including at the local level in New York City, despite what he had been through. The optimism was an 11 out of 10. Watching and listening to that half-hour speech yesterday after Trump got back to the Oval Office and became the 47th president of the United States.
I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. A tide of change is sweeping the country. Sunlight is pouring over the entire world, and America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before. But first, we must be honest about the challenges we face. While they are plentiful, they will be annihilated by this great momentum that the world is now witnessing in the United States of America.
Now, of course, there was a Trump spin to it. There was obviously a list of grievances that came along with it. But by and large, when I watched Donald Trump, I saw a guy who was optimistic. I saw a guy who loved America. He didn't view this country as something that needed to be fixed inherently. He viewed it as someone who needed to fix the people who were in charge of the country. Those are two very different things. You see, when Obama shows up or Biden shows up, they view America as having inherent issues. Racism, sexism, whatever ism you want to fill in. And thanks to big government, they can fix it. Donald Trump said yesterday, this is a great nation. The people in charge of it just suck. And they've done a terrible job. And it's time for me to come in and return the power to the people. That's what Donald Trump was saying yesterday. It wasn't about the nation having anything wrong with it or the people being wrong. It was about the people in charge who have failed the people elected to make your lives better, have done nothing, according to Donald Trump yesterday, but make their own lives better.
My recent election is a mandate to completely and totally reverse a horrible betrayal and all of these many betrayals that have taken place, and to give the people back their faith, their wealth, their democracy, and indeed their freedom. From this moment on, America's decline is over.
Giving people back their wealth, their democracy, and their freedom. That's what Donald Trump said. It's not about what he can take or what the party can take from you for their own political power and their own wealth. It's about what can be given back. And that is an important message that I hope resonates beyond yesterday, because that message is the kind of message that has made America great and, yes, can make America great again. It is the message of, I will give you as much wealth as you can possibly attain, right, as a free American citizen based on choices that you make in your life. I will give you the freedoms and the power and the faith that you want to have, the democracy back to the people, and that is what will make America, once again, a great and prosperous nation. Not a nation where China's buying up our debt left and right, where we sit here and have ridiculous debates on whether or not there are more than two genders, which, oh, by the way, he made it so there are only now officially two genders according to the United States government. That's a big win. It's about individualism, freedom, and that is what has always made America the greatest experiment as a nation in the history of mankind. And it was back yesterday. And I was thrilled with the approach of this speech. It could have been negative. It could have been 2017-esque, but it wasn't. And all those clips I just played came in the first few minutes. Those were all in the first 5 minutes of this speech, which lasted about 30 minutes. You know, a little long, but that's how Trump's going to do it, right? He's always going to be a little long when it comes to the speeches. That's just how he rolls. You come to expect it. Could that have been 15 minutes? Sure. But what I also watched yesterday, and I give Joe Biden credit for showing up, I guess. I don't give him credit for much else yesterday. He's pardoning his entire family, Fauci, Milley, Cheney, everybody. But Joe Biden basically showed up to his own roast. That's what yesterday was, John.
Yeah, touche.
He showed up to his own roast, and to his credit, he took it like a man. Kamala looked much more pissed than Joe did yesterday.
Joe's inner dialogue, chocolate chip.
Get me out of here. Get me on that helicopter.
Let's get to a Bodega, Jill.
Yeah, let's get out of here. Let's get to the Bodega. Give me a chocolate chip, and let's move on, okay? It's time to get out of here, get to Delaware, go to some beach in California, and sayonara, see you later, and know that my brother is protected. That's what yesterday was about for Joe Biden. It was unusual for an incoming president to roast the guy he's replacing the way that Donald Trump did. But you know what? I thought it was done in a way that wasn't too much in your face, but sent a message. And Donald Trump is allowed to send that message based on what this administration and others around it and their political allies had done or attempted to do to him the last few years. I didn't mind it one bit. And now the executive orders are starting to roll out. You're starting to see Donald Trump signing EOs left and right. The border, energy, those are some of the big ones that were signed yesterday. Ending diversity programs across the federal government. Unwinding signature Joe Biden administration policies on the first day of his second term. Trump's immigration plans include ending birthright citizenship, declaring a national emergency at the southern border, ending asylum by speeding up deportations. He gave the defense secretary 10 days to provide a plan for U.S. troops to help seal the border. All these things are happening right now in real time. It is down the business. I know you might have turned on the TV last night and saw the pomp and circumstance, the inaugural ball. There was the Liberty ball that took place, all these different things, you know, the glitz and the glamour that you probably saw on TV. But for all of that, there are thousands of people getting down to business and working hard right now on behalf of the American people. And boy, it is a joyous occasion to see it all unfold. Now, I just referenced Joe Biden's final move before he hit the road at noon Eastern time yesterday. The pardoning of his entire family, of his siblings in particular. And there's really one that makes a big difference here. It's his brother, who is believed to be somebody who is benefiting financially on the backs of, well, being the president of the former VP and now president. How this was covered by the media today compared to where things were 4 years ago in this country is a fascinating contrast. And I will share it with you next on 95.7 FM KCMO. We are streaming all morning long on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Well, Joe Biden had quite a parting shot to the democratic norms that he ran on. You know, the great defender of democracy, as we noted, it was about 24 hours ago to the minute that we found out Joe Biden was pardoning Anthony Fauci and the January 6th committee and Mark Milley and others. And then it was announced 22 minutes before Donald Trump was sworn in as the 47th president of the United States. So this was obviously pre-planned. It was done as Donald Trump was getting set to be inaugurated. So there was no time for him to say anything to Joe Biden about it. They had met earlier in the morning, of course. Joe Biden issued preemptive, unconditional pardons for his siblings and their spouses, and blanket immunity for any nonviolent offenses they might have committed since 2014. That is a hell of a pardon, my man. Oh, my gosh.
I'm loving the family politics of it.
Oh, I know.
Right? The brother's on the phone. Hey, dude, you've pardoned what about us? What about us?
See,
did I forget to hit send?
See, I think it was always coming.
Sure it was, but I think he was messing with his own
true. You think he was screwing with them a little bit there?
He left it till late, didn't he?
Well, I think he did it because he knew it would get zero attention. He literally did.
Well, he's trying to bury it.
Yes, bury
sure.
it. 20 minutes before he was done as president. 20 minutes before he was done.
I would think they would be nervous. So going, dude.
Yeah.
You got 20 minutes. What's up, bro?
You better hit send on that. Because here's the thing with Joe, you never know, right? I mean, he might forget. He's like, oh, whoops. Trump's in there. Gosh dang it. I meant to hit send on that one. My bad. So this came hours after, of course, he granted similar unqualified clemency to some very prominent figures. So Joe Biden said here in his statement, the issuance of these pardons should not be mistaken as an acknowledgement that any individual engaged in any wrongdoing. Really? Is that right? So this should not be viewed as some type of admission of wrongdoing. Now, I want to take you back a few years ago, when on MSNBC, Joy Reid asked Adam Schiff, California congressman, whether or not he had heard of somebody getting a preemptive pardon who is an innocent person. Here's how that exchange went on MSNBC almost 4 years ago to the day when there were talks about Donald Trump potentially issuing preemptive pardons for family members.
Have you ever heard of somebody getting a preemptive pardon who was innocent of all crime? Who's just an innocent person? Have you ever heard of that? Just somebody getting a blanket pardon and they're an innocent person?
But no, I think that it's an effort not only to prospectively pardon people for things they have not yet been charged with and may never be charged with, but also it's the president's own family. It's people that have been covering up for the president in addition to his own family. This is the nature of those the president has surrounded himself with, including his family. And that is, it's been essentially a den of thieves environment. And so I think the president views this as his way of trying to protect those that have protected him.
That was Adam Schiff talking about the potential of Donald Trump in 2020 issuing preemptive pardons. It's amazing. All the things that they claimed Donald Trump might do or was going to do that he didn't do, Joe Biden in some way actually did, including this.
Nothing up my sleeve?
Yeah. This is Joe Biden in a nutshell. Preach about democratic norms, preach about democracy, and when push comes to shove, he takes that democratic norm and he sticks it in the garbage pail and he tells you to shove it. That's what Joe Biden did yesterday with these pardons. And he's got the audacity in a statement to say, I believe in the rule of law. Now, just like he did with Hunter Biden, his son, he gave his family clemency for unspecified acts since January 1st of 2014. Why is that timing important? The timing is important on that because a House investigation alleges that the Biden family members received money from foreign sources through shadow accounts, and it dates back to, give or take that time, 2014, when, of course, he was the vice president of the United States under Barack Obama. Now, you've got a situation right now where Biden's doing this, and the media is understandably so embarrassing itself. Back in 2020, I want to give you these different headlines so you can see them for yourself, all right? This is CNN on December 23rd of 2020. Trump goes on a rampage with pardons, veto threats, and COVID denial. Now, Trump had like 1/8 the amount of pardons as Joe Biden. It was like fractional. Here's CNN's headline yesterday. Biden issues preemptive pardons for Trump critics and Biden family members. Kind of a different headline, wouldn't you say? You on board with that? Just the way they wrote that a little bit differently 4 years ago versus now. It's interesting how that works. Now, what does Trump do with this? Well, here's the thing, right? I had this debate with some people yesterday who said, hey, this takes this issue off the table for Trump. He can get back to the business of the American people, and he doesn't have to be buried in a sideshow of Joe Biden's alleged potential corruption. And I understand that to some degree, but where I disagree is that if we get into a place where presidents can now issue preemptive pardons, we'll become a banana republic. I don't know how or if Donald Trump can challenge this thing in court, but this is obviously something that has never been done before. And while it's believed to be okay for Joe Biden or any president to do this and issue these preemptive pardons, you think corruption's in D.C. right now, you just wait to see what's coming. And that could be a Democrat or a Republican. I don't think it's going to be Trump, but it could be either side of the political aisle. If you can now issue, Joe Biden has broke an enormous Democratic norm. Let's not make let's not downplay this at all. Okay? Joe Biden has made a clear decision to break a Democratic norm, and he has no shame about it. 913-408-7957. Wes is in Gladstone. What's up, Wes? You're on KCMO.
Yeah, hey, Pete. Based on Biden's 50 years of grifting with the federal government, until proven otherwise, I'm of the opinion that every one of these pardons was paid for. Maybe. And I would start Trump doesn't have to do anything, but the FBI and the DOJ should start an investigation into bribery because, check these, like Fauci. Hey, you just moved $1 million into cash. You might be a drug dealer. We got to check this out. I mean,
yeah.
But Pete, you're absolutely right. Banana third world republic is third world stuff is what this is, man.
And it puts Trump in a bad spot because now there are people who are going to say you've got to look into this. You have no choice. Remember in 2016 with Hillary Clinton, he ran on lock her up, but it was kind of just something he ran on. He was never going to do anything against Hillary. Now this may have put him in a more difficult spot where he feels like he has to. Hey, Wes, great to see you yesterday. You were a star out there at Ray's Cafe, man. Everyone was looking for Wes in Gladstone, so well done.
That freaked me out, man. But it's a fun time.
Yeah, a couple of folks come up. Hey, is Wes in Gladstone here? Where's Wes in Gladstone? Hey, he's right here. He's center table. So I'm just here to be your handler, Wes in Gladstone. Have a great day, my man.
Okay, man. Thanks.
See you later. Between everyone's looking for Wes and Gladstone out at Ray's, looking for John. I'm just the arm piece for these guys. That's all I am. Oh, man. 913-408-7957. It's great to be here on KCMO Talk Radio. A local story from Woke 41. Could Donald Trump's inauguration flip Johnson County back to red? We'll discuss next. 6:35, Donald Trump starts day number 2 back in the White House. It is great to be here with you on KCMO. A frigid morning in Kansas City. As hot as things are in D.C., with the big guy back in charge, it is right now -8 right here in Overland Park, according to my phone. And
record low.
Is it a record low this morning?
Yeah, -6 was the previous record.
Oh, we got a record low. Okay, great news. Said nobody ever. The feel like temp is -10 right now here at Corporate Woods. So it's cold. I know a lot of schools are doing delayed openings today or have the day off, so definitely be safe. Just walking from the parking lot into the building, I didn't have gloves on this morning, and I was like, yeah, this is not good. This is not good, John.
It's a day where wearing Levi's feels like double knits.
Yeah.
I mean, boy, the first step I took, they're like freezing the back of my leg. I'm like, holy smoke.
Yeah, it's tough out there. So it's going to warm up towards the end of the week, which is a good thing. But definitely a day to be safe as you get out there and get going. Start the car early if you can, because you're going to feel it the second you step outside. Now, here in Johnson County, Kansas, there was a report yesterday from Woke 41 Action News wondering whether or not Donald Trump being back in the White House could flip Johnson County, Kansas, back from blue to red. Some are calling, and they are in this report, calling Johnson County a purple county. I don't think it is. I look at Johnson County, Kansas, and I say this as a resident. You tell me if you feel differently. Johnson County is a blue county. You look at who's in charge of the county commission. You look at Sharice Davids. You look at how the county votes for governor. Laura Kelly won it by like 20 points over Derek Schmidt a couple of years ago in that governor's race. Johnson County is not purple. The countywide guy who's a Republican who barely won a couple of months ago is Steve Howe, the DA, who does a great job and has been there forever. So he's got some credibility amongst the voters that, go beyond the partisan politics of the moment. But I can't sit here and tell you Johnson County's purple. Can you? It's not. So Woke 41 was at the Johnson County Republican Party headquarters yesterday. I guess they didn't want to come out to Ray's Cafe and say hi to us, which, based on the nicknames we give them, I kind of understand, John.
I'm looking at the Johnson County registration, and this is where it's an anomaly. Democratic Party registration 149,018, Republican 189 to 957, so almost 190,000 to 150 Republicans. But that's because when you register as a Republican, you can then participate in the primaries.
Yes, correct.
And so many of my Democratic friends have said that they've registered as Republicans in Johnson County to participate in that.
Yes.
So that statistic can be a little misleading.
Yes, exactly. Good data to share with the folks here on a frigid Tuesday morning across Kansas City. So let's roll the package from Woke 41 Action News. Here they were yesterday, right in Johnson County, wondering what the future might hold. And here we go.
Johnson County chose Biden as a whole back in November's election. But you wouldn't know it based on the watch party here inside the Johnson County Republican Party headquarters.
The people in this room are ready for the golden age President Donald Trump predicted in his inauguration speech.
The golden age of America begins.
That gold will shine on a Johnson County that's been purple since supporting Trump in 2016.
For the most part, everybody gets to vote their own vote. If Johnson County stays blue, it stays blue.
Mark Hermas lost a race for the Kansas State House as a Republican last year. He says he'll run again in 2026. He thinks results from Republican leaders like President Trump will help the red GOP cause.
If you listen to a message and you decide that there's alternatives or a different vote, then you change your vote.
This room cheered for the president's message to crack down on the border, create the external revenue service, and drill, baby, drill.
We will drill, baby, drill.
The last time President Trump was in office, our gas prices was under $2 a gallon.
Todd Bryan thinks more young men voted Republican this election. He hopes that trend turns Johnson County red again.
You guys helped our election, especially my son. He's like 21. He wasn't old enough to vote the last time, but thank God for all these first-time voters. You guys helped a lot.
In the land of the red, white, and blue, we'll see what the future holds for Johnson County.
That was from Woke 41 KSHB yesterday in Johnson County. Now, can Donald Trump flip Johnson County to red? He can, but it's going to take some time. It's going to take an awakening from the OWW crowd that has decided to make Johnson County home, the overeducated woke whites. You look at it right now, and Johnson County is continuing to trend blue, right? At a time when New York City is moving to the right, at a time when Texas is moving further to the right, you look at places like New Jersey, which is shifting to the right. Johnson County continues to stay solidly to the left. You got to go back to 2016. In 2016, Donald Trump did win Johnson County, Kansas. He won it by about 2.5 points over Hillary Clinton, 47-9 to 45-2. And then in 2020, Joe Biden won it by 8+ points, 53 to 45. Now, this time around, it was about the same as last time around. So it wasn't a big difference when you compare these two and where Johnson County was 4 years ago versus where it is today. If you're going to swing that thing 4 points the other way, which you have to do, right? If you want to win a race that somebody else won by 8 points, well, you've got to swing it by half of that, 4 points in your favor. That's not easy. That doesn't happen overnight. Trump can do a lot of good things, but for whatever reason, Johnson County is attracting a taxpayer base that, for whatever reason, wants to, I guess, pay more in taxes, doesn't care about the border, isn't interested in making sure that our allies overseas are protected. I can't quite figure it out outside of this mentality of OWW, overeducated woke white. That's the only conclusion I can come to here because nothing else makes sense. Johnson County is in many respects the quintessential example of people who live a conservative lifestyle. They get their college degrees. They try to work hard. They try to make money. Many of them settle down, have families. They live a conservative lifestyle, right? But then when push comes to shove, they don't vote that way. And whether it's because of ignorance or guilt or I don't know what, fill in the blank, maybe you have an answer at 913-408-7957 on the text line. Maybe you've got that. I don't. But it just doesn't connect. And then there's always going to be that Trump derangement syndrome. That's always going to be part of the equation here. But it's interesting. There still are plenty of working class folks that are in and around Johnson County. And they may be the ones that help swing this thing towards Donald Trump. 913-408-7957 is how you join us. And interestingly, like Wyandotte County, right, swung more towards Trump. Now, still, Kamala won it by 20-plus points. She won it by 23 points. But 4 years ago, Joe Biden won Wyandotte County by 31 points. So once again, that's kind of the shifting of the political parties that you are seeing. Johnson County stayed as blue as it was 4 years ago. Wyandotte County shifted a little bit to the right, and it's not close to being red at all, but it did shift a little bit to the right. Mike in Kansas City, go ahead, my man. You're on KCMO.
Yeah, I originally called and told John that first day in office, Trump ended global warming, so we've got these record colds.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, you're using the term overeducated. It should be over-indoctrinated.
Oh, that's
a degree
pretty
in
good.
physics is an education. A degree in gender studies is an indoctrination. You know, it really
That's
bothers
good.
me. Now, granted, I've got degrees in hard sciences. Maybe I'm a little bit biased on it, but somebody with a degree in gender studies doesn't impress me.
Yeah.
Or any of those feel-good sciences.
But what if
And those are the ones-
what if it's a doctorate in gender studies?
You can get a doctorate of divinity by sending $100 to a church in California.
6:45. Good morning. Stay warm out there today. It only took like 12 hours to accuse the people in charge of the country now of being Nazis. Here we go. Good morning. It is good to be here on KCMO. Frigid morning across Kansas City. Seriously, be safe this morning when you step outside. It is right now here at Corporate Woods a balmy -8 degrees. So take it easy. In the meantime, Elon Musk addressed the crowd yesterday in Washington, D.C., Capital One Arena. And if you Google Elon Musk, you will see headlines like this. Euronews.com. Elon Musk's apparent Nazi salute. Controversy overshadows Trump's inauguration. According to who did Elon Musk's goofy hand sign overshadow Donald Trump's inauguration? That's not a fact. That's not true. BBC. Elon Musk responds after backlash over gesture at Trump rally. Rolling Stone, right-wing extremists are abuzz over Elon Musk's straight arm salute. New York Times, Elon Musk ignites online speculation over the meaning of a hand gesture. So for 4 years, they would not look at Joe Biden's clear cognitive decline and address that and talk about that and speculate over that, despite the fact that we all knew what we were seeing with our own two eyes. But Elon Musk makes a hand gesture, and all of a sudden, we are hearkening back to Hitler. I kid you not. And you don't have to take my word for it. This was PBS. All right? This was PBS. Defund PBS. Defund PBS. I know you guys have a lot to get done in D.C. Defunding NPR, PBS, and the whole cabal that is the government-run media outlets has got to be a priority at some point. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which gets $500 million a year, I know that's chump change, but they have got to be defunded as soon as possible, John.
In a related item, box stores throughout the metro area were sold out of tinfoil hats.
Yeah. Where are the
same thing as the tinfoil hat crowd, right?
Where are the conspiracy theorists?
Cast a shadow over the proceedings.
I know. Yeah. Cast a shadow. Here's PBS. Very serious reporting from PBS last night.
And Stephanie, there was a now controversial moment earlier today where Elon Musk gave these back-to-back gestures that people are saying mimicked a Nazi salute. You see it there. Elon Musk has not directly addressed this, but he has appeared to edit out that gesture from the video that he posted on X, the platform he, of course, owns. Help us understand what transpired.
Help us, please.
Yeah, and it's interesting that Elon Musk does not appear to be on the podium with the president now, even though he was with him throughout the day. I don't know if that was scheduled or not. We did see Mr. Musk during that speech, and we saw the gesture. I don't know whether the audience here interpreted it the way it was subsequently interpreted on social media. It certainly appears to be a Heil Hitler. But at the time, what he was saying, we went back to the transcript, and I remember him saying it, is he was saying, "My heart goes out to you." So he was gesturing to his chest. And then, of course, there was the hand straight out, which harkens back, of course, for a lot of folks to the Nazi salute. But we didn't see that reaction here. There wasn't like a gasp or a pause or any even reinforcement of the gesture. So it's a little hard to tell from where we sat the meaning of it.
Because you're the only idiots who think that's what it was.
I can't tell if you're playing a clip from today or yesterday's Saturday Night Live thing that we had.
No, this is from...
It sounds like it, doesn't it?
I will say that reporter there for PBS, Stephanie Sy, or I don't know if it's C or Sy, it's S-Y, she sounds nervous. Mm-hmm. She sounded like... Yeah. She was embarrassed to even be reporting on this deep down, but she knows it's PBS and she has no choice. I mean, she goes on to say there, harkens back for a lot of folks to the Nazi salute. Yep, this is all part of the tinfoil hat grand conspiracy. Elon Musk is there to secretly be the Nazi for the Trump administration. They caught him red-handed. Oh no. Busted. Whoop. My gosh, I thought it might wait a week. Instead, the media decides, you know what, we've got one toe left on our 2 feet. Let's just blow it off in the first couple of days. Well, just like in Washington, D.C., where the work begins today for the Donald Trump administration, the work has been underway for about a week or two in Topeka and in Jeff City. But on the Kansas side of the state line, there is now a movement, and there has been for the last couple of years. We'll see if they can get something done to try to limit the increase in real estate valuation for property tax purposes. Dave Trauberg, Kansas Policy Institute, is here on KCMO Talk Radio. Dave, we appreciate it as always. Take us through what they're looking at in Topeka right now.
So, good morning, Pete. The proposal is to put a 3% cap on the annual cap on the increased value of real estate for property tax purposes. So, if property is sold, it would go to be taxed on that basis. But if you don't sell property and you don't improve property, then the maximum that it could increase each year is 3%. And that would be a big change because, I mean, for example, you've seen residential values around the state on average, they went up double digits in 2022 and 2023, and we think it's probably between 6 and 7% based on some preliminary numbers we've seen for 2024. So you've seen like a 30% increase over 3 years, and this would limit it to, in 3 years, to 9%. It would be a big, big savings for all classes of real estate. Now, the downside is, of course, local officials would then probably increase the mill rate more than they otherwise would have. Mm-hmm. But we've run the numbers, and it's just highly unlikely that they would do it so much so they would still get the same tax increase. It would go up some, but on net, everybody would be better off with this.
But what happens then? Isn't this potentially the same issue that California runs into, where it's Prop 13, it limits the annual increase in property's assessed value to 2%. And then when you go to sell these homes, I mean, you know, they sell for way more than the government claims it's worth based on these artificial increases. And then you have a different crisis on your hands where then they can reset those numbers after they sell, right?
Well, partially true. So first of all, the limit is on the assessed valuation for tax purposes. The appraiser would still put a price on your home. Like, if, just make the math easy for me, if the home is today appraised at $100,000, it would be assessed at $11,500. Now, next year, if it went up, if they said, well, now your home is worth $110,000, instead of the assessed value going up 10%, it would only go up 3%. But you'd still have that appraised value at $110,000. So there's really not that distortion. And then you have to, yes, it is true that and this is one of the concerns, it's kind of a fairness issue. I buy a house next to my neighbor, but because I just purchased it and it's the same type of house, I'm paying a higher tax just because I recently purchased. That's true. What you have to look at is what's happening now. And what we're seeing all across Kansas is people being taxed out of their homes, even in Johnson County. I've been there when people have gone to city council and county commission and said, please don't do this. I can't afford to buy my food and medicine if you increase my property taxes. And they do it anyway. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have, it really comes down to, are Kansans overall better off with or without this limit on valuation increases? And the math shows overwhelmingly that, yes, people are better off with the valuation limit. Granted, there's a few little concerns, but you're still far better off.
Yeah, it's just exasperating because if we just had people that were better stewards of our tax dollars in our cities and counties, we wouldn't need more government to fix other government. And that's what I feel like this does. And then there's a downside of this that, you know, I've read some of the downsides of Prop 13 in California. And what you end up with is grandma sitting in their $1 million homes basically saying, I've got no reason to go. And that has a whole nother impact on the economy where supply is not where it needs to be. that artificially increases prices, and then you've got a different mess on your hands. And that creates another set of issues that I think the guys and gals in Topeka got to be careful of.
Well, it can create an issue where grandma doesn't want to sell her home, and so there's less, there's less on the market. But what we're dealing with right now is a lot of grandmas having to sell their homes because local officials have taxed them out of their homes. And let's look at California. Yes, taxes are always an issue, but what's the first thing that they're talking about doing in California to recover from the fires? Get a lot of government regulations out of the way. Mm-hmm. You would build a lot more homes if it didn't take years to get permits in some cases. If you didn't have to jump through all these hoops and have all these unnecessary requirements. It can cost thousands of dollars more to build a house in one state versus the other, just because of regulations imposed by state and usually local governments. So the first thing they can do to solve the housing issue is look in the mirror. What are the things that local governments or state governments are doing that are making it more expensive to build homes, and get that out of the way?
Yeah, no, listen, I'm all about the solution that they're going for there. Dave Trabert, Kansas Policy Institute, is here on KCMO. I wonder what the best way forward is. And, it's going to be a very interesting conversation to see how it unfolds. So they've looked at this the last couple of years in Topeka. It hasn't gotten to the governor's desk. Do you think Governor Kelly would, from what you hear, would sign something like this?
Well, this proposal is a constitutional amendment, so governors don't have a say on that. If it passes the House and the Senate with a 2/3 majority, then it goes to the voters, and they get to decide whether to veto it or approve it. The issue, the Senate has passed it once. The House has not taken it up for probably a lot of little reasons. Sometimes they just don't want to do something. But again, it always comes down to, is this proposal going to be a net benefit to taxpayers or a net negative? And I think the data makes this really clear that this is a net benefit. It's not perfect, certainly. Mm-hmm. It's not everything that needs to be done, and it won't reduce what you pay, but it will reduce the rate of increase. You will see much smaller property tax increases over time with this in place.
Yeah. But is there a way to guarantee that the counties and the cities don't increase the mill levies to the point where it's revenue neutral for them?
No, but let's look at the math. And this is an example I gave the Senate Tax Committee. Let's say that a city had $100 million in assessed valuation, and it went up 15%. The typical response is they will shave a little bit, maybe 1% off the mill rate, and end up with a 13% tax increase. With a 3% valuation limit, they would have to raise the mill rate more than 10% in order to get that amount of property tax out of people. And after conditioning people that increases in mill rates are equated with increase in taxes, they simply couldn't do that and hope to get reelected. They might come in and say, look, we need to raise your mill rate by 3%, 4%, but not 10. So you would end up with a smaller tax increase.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, listen, I admit, Dave, I am skeptical. Something else, when I look at some of the side effects, I've seen issues in California where local governments, what do? They focus on getting more commercial properties in there. They build less homes because that's where the money's at for them to make money to keep those coffers full. So, is that something we look at as a potential downside? I don't know, but I at least appreciate the fact that I know you're focused on it. They're looking at it. And I will say, yesterday at our event at Ray's Cafe, a lot of people said that they enjoy you coming on and bringing some perspective to what's going on there in Topeka. So it's always great to have you on, my man.
Well, thanks for the opportunity, Pete.
We love doing it. Dave Trabert on KCMO. Listen, we all know it's a major problem. The property tax issue, the bulk of it is a problem with local government. if we did a better job and elected better people. And that's the frustrating part, right? You've got a state trying to basically figure out how to correct the issues of the voters, most notably here in Johnson County, who keep voting for people who are, growing the budget exponentially in places like Johnson County as a county level, in Overland Park, to a lesser extent, Olathe. So a part of me says, you know what? The state should stay out of it because we as voters keep doing this to ourselves. We're blowing off our own toes one at a time. And I am not convinced that the government copying California's Prop 13 is the answer here. Because the local officials will figure out a way around it. They will get theirs until these bums are thrown out of office. They will. Unless the state really brings down the heavy hand and literally, makes it so you can't increase the mill levy, at a certain percentage rate. If not, they're going to say, screw it. The voters are putting us in power. And until they tell us they don't want us to use the heavy hand of government and increase their taxes, then we're going to keep doing it, no matter what the state says. And guess what? If they keep getting voted in, I can't really blame them for feeling that way. This is on us. I don't need some state senator in Dodge City trying to protect me here. We've got to wake up in Johnson County. That's what's got to happen. I'm not looking to copy California. 913-408-7957. I believe the intentions of Republicans in Topeka on this are good, but man, I don't like responding to government with more government. Oh, man, the Arrowhead Invitational is just days away. Chiefs, of course, hosting the Bills this weekend for a chance to go to the Super Bowl. And for some, they've got to figure out how to make this all about culture and Chiefs hatred. And Outsports.com has a new hot take. Headline: the Kansas City Chiefs rallied around anti-gay kicker Harrison Butker. Would they rally if he came out as gay? I've been fortunate enough to see Harrison Butker kick a lot of field goals at Arrowhead Stadium in person. And at no point has that ball sailed through the uprights after a big kick by Butker. And I said, well, good thing he's straight. I don't care about Harrison Butker's sexual preferences. I've never thought about any athlete in my life through the prism of their sexual orientation. I can't think about why I would. See, here's what I find interesting about bad takes like this. Not even hot takes, just bad, stupid, ignorant takes like this. What I think upsets writers like this the most is the fact that sports is a meritocracy. It's one of the few meritocracies that are left between corporate America, between higher education, between so many things in our world where meritocracy has fallen by the wayside. It's not just about, are you the best person for the job? You have to factor in all this other nonsense. Now, I hope that starts going away. I do think the pendulum is swinging back. But sports is the last meritocracy we have. And that's a good thing, because that's how the world and the country should operate. The NFL is a meritocracy. You see NFL players get second chances, third chances when they commit acts of violence. Like, let's be honest. Let's use Rashee Rice here with the Chiefs. Rashee Rice gets into that big accident on the Dallas freeway in the offseason. He's got a legal mess on his hands. Nobody bats an eye. He will be playing for the Chiefs once he gets back from his knee injury. Why? Because he's damn good. If Rashee Rice was a practice squad player, guess what? He probably wouldn't be on the team anymore. If you think that Harrison Butker or any NFL player who's as good as Harrison Butker is and was gay wouldn't get a job, you are insane. See, you are projecting on the NFL what you project on other people, which is judgment. If Harrison Butker or anybody was as good as he happens to be at his job, nobody would care about his sexual orientation. And it is a fabricated, made-up hypothetical that is based in absolutely nothing. But when you're looking for takes and you're looking to knock people who have more traditional values, this is the kind of stuff you do. You make up hypotheticals, you write about it, and then you try to make it go viral. That's the name of the game. And I guess you could look at it this way. If Harrison Butker happened to, be gay, he would also be a Super Bowl record holder, right? We could bring that in.
There you go, in the first.
Yeah, he could be a first. He could be, because Harrison Butker.
Why don't they celebrate that?
Yes, Harrison Butker has the longest field goal made in Super Bowl history. He also has the most career field goals in the Super Bowl with 9. He may have more this year, John.
Yeah, how about that?
You could look at it from that perspective.
Or could we look at the original premise and say, the guy's pro-marriage. There was nothing about.
Well, that's, of course, the other part of this as well.
Mm-hmm.
This all got tied back to a speech at Benedictine and, how it was all these isms wrapped in the one speech, which, of course, was not the case. But for people who are trying to just project, for people who are trying to virtue signal, they spin that speech into whatever they want it to be. In the meantime, maybe Harrison Butker knocks through a game-winning kick this week against the Buffalo Bills. We'll see. And you know what? He will get cheered at Arrowhead Stadium. Not because of his sexual orientation, not because of his skin color, not because of anything other than the fact that he's damn good at what he does. And he helped the team win. That's it.